well, I hope you guys are excited to be here. As you realize, we just wrapped up our last lesson plan. And part of this whole unit plan, what we're trying to ultimately get to is we want you guys to have a better awareness as far as the whole interview process, how that goes, starting with how to look for a job, how to build a resume, how to be more informed as far as an interview, and then how to follow the interview. So I'd like you guys to go ahead and log into your Edmodo, and we're going to look at a PowerPoint here. Okay? And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over a couple simple facts just to raise our awareness a little bit about the interview process. So I want you guys to read 3 things that have happened in an interview. Okay, the first thing is a woman brought her large dog to the interview. Okay, we all love dogs, right? I think everybody here loves dogs. I would bring my dog everywhere if I could, but probably not the best place to bring it to an interview. A man has actually interrupted his interview to phone his therapist to ask for advice on one of his questions. Okay, and last thing is a man has actually pulled out a camera, took a picture of his interviewer, saying that he collects photos of everyone that interviews him. All right, so those are things that we want to avoid. We're going to go ahead and get that out there. Okay, so here are some of the important things about the whole interview process. The more you get to know your interviewer, the better chance you have of doing well in your interview. Interesting fact, smokers actually get the offer non-smokers get the offer 94% of the time. So if you don't have an incentive to quit smoking, there's one right there, right? First impressions are always critical. The first 20 seconds can definitely get you a job, but it can also lose you a job as well. And the last thing is, the last person that interviews typically gets a job about 50% of the time. So let's go over our standards. Our central focus, ultimately what we want you guys to walk out of this lesson with is we want you to walk out of this with the ability to successfully participate in a mock interview and have a greater overall knowledge of the interview process. Let's go over our standards that we're going to cover. By the end of this lesson plan, hopefully you guys will effectively communicate through writing and speaking. When you guys will look at your action verb list, which we'll do shortly, you'll create a pre-test interview self-assessment, and then you guys ultimately will be doing a mock interview with myself and 2 fellow local business owners for a formal assessment grade. So that's more of our end of the unit plan, but the first 2 things we're certainly going to get done today. I hope you guys are excited. All right. I'd like to kind of kick this thing off with a video. So I'm going to have you guys watch a video. It's by the interview guys who, if you haven't seen them, they're awesome. So it's just a quick little video here, and we're gonna get going. Okay, after the video, typically I have you guys break out into groups of 3 or 4. But for today's purposes, we're gonna stay individual, and we're gonna write down some of the things that we thought about. Okay. So here's our video.
So do we click onto on your other screen now? The board?
I just clicked on it.
Yeah.
So,
okay, that's what we do. We click to look at the board.
Yeah, just look at the board, and if you keep it on my screen here, the video will pop up. Okay. Can everyone hear?
Yep. Oh no.
Can anyone hear?
No.
All right. There we go. Let's try turn the volume up.
Hey everyone, I'm Jeff, and this is my friend Mike. They're known as the interview guys. Today, we're coming to you live from the call. Hey, look, Jeff, a message is coming to you in that bottle. Yeah, I already read it, Mike. It says, you're a tool. Anyway, today we're going to look at the questions on the thanks for that, Jeff. Anyway, as you know, this is one of the most commonly asked job interview questions. If you don't know what you're doing, you can also be one of the toughest. But don't worry, folks, because the interview guys are here to help. Thanks, Captain Cheesy. Okay, so let's get started. Let's imagine that Jeff was at the interview. So, Jeff, why don't you start by telling me about yourself. Well, I'm from Seattle, Washington. I enjoy mountain biking and cooking, and my favorite color is... Sorry, Jeff. That is not the way to answer that question. Let's take a look at where you went wrong. Okay, so there's 3 main points that you need to remember when answering this question. What's the first one, Jeff? Well, as you saw in my bad answer, you absolutely do not want to go on and on about your personal life or hobbies. Which leads me to point number 2. You want to include specific work achievements from your past in your answer. But there's one final trick, isn't there, Jeff? That's right, Mike. It is always a good idea to mention your strengths and abilities in your answer. Okay, Jeff? Well, let's give you another shot at it. So, Jeff, why did you start by telling me about yourself? Well, I've been in sales for the last 5 years. My most recent experience was in the retail industry, where I was manager at the company shoe company. I was personally responsible for a 30% increase in sales over the last year. I'd say that my main strength is my leadership ability, which was evident in the way I mentored my sales team to reach our lofty goals. What I'm looking for is a company that values teamwork and a group dynamic, where I can join a strong team and have a positive impact on the team dynamic and sales revenue. Outstanding work, Jeffrey. Way to use the 3 points we talked about effectively. So, did you see the difference? The first time I answered, I gave a witness.
Okay. Could everybody hear the video? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Good. All right, so you guys kind of saw right there. The interview guys made a little bit of a joke out of it, but you got an idea of how we want to answer questions in an interview, right? So for the purpose of today, I want you guys...
Excuse me, Mr. Huff. My family has owned a family business for generations. How is this going to be important to me? I know I have a job for the rest of my life.
You know, Patrick, that's a great question. If I could say one thing, that there's no certainties in life, and there's no certainties that we may all fall into the same career path. And so this tool is kind of a universal tool that will take you anywhere you want to go. So I feel that this is a really good opportunity for you to maybe expand a little bit. And, if it doesn't ever come up in your life or in your interview process or anything like that, then that would be okay as well. But you'll definitely be a better person for it and a better employee.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right. So I'd like for you guys to look at our first handout, okay? I want you to come up with... You guys, everybody has your action verb list. Does everyone have your action verb list?
Are we supposed to get it from the handouts that you gave us earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So as long as I want you guys to get your action verb list out. I want you to turn that verb list over, and I want you to write down the most important thing that you think goes into an interview. Okay, normally we would do at least 10, but for today we're just going to do 1. What do you think is the most important thing that goes into an interview? Do you think it's how you dress? Do you think it's your first impression? Do you think it's how much information you know? It could be anything. I want you to come up with it, and if anybody would like to share an example or volunteer their response, Dr. Webb, what do you think is the most important thing that goes into an interview?
Is that based off the list that you gave us, or is that just in general?
Just in general, just your personal opinion.
I think it's really important to look good.
Look good.
Because, I'm always trying to look good around this school and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it makes a difference. Because I always like to see people that look good, too. Because I think, if they're dressed in a suit or they're dressed up, that they must be kind of important. That's what I think.
Well, that's a good point. First impression, you got to look the part, right?
That's right.
You walk into an interview wearing blue jeans, they got holes in them, and you're wearing a tank top, and you're going for a job where you're going to wear a button-up shirt or maybe a tie, they're going to look at you and say, Nope, not hiring you, right? All right. So I'm good. I want you guys to hold on to those things, right? Hold on to whichever you think is the most important thing. We're going to bring that up at the end of class, whatever you wrote down. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over what's called the 5-point interview. So if everybody would direct your attention to the smart board, we're going to go over the sections of an interview, kind of break it down from a step-to-step standpoint. All right, so as you guys look at our PowerPoint here, we're going to start with the 5-point interview. All right, the 5-point interview is very simple. It just puts things in a step-by-step basis to kind of walk you through how to get yourself ready for an interview, okay? So as it outlines right here, we have 5 steps: before the interview, the beginning of the interview, middle, end, and then the follow-up. Okay, so before the interview, these are just some generalities that in the professional business, that in the interviewing world are highly respected and highly touted and have proven to be successful when people are going in for interviews. So do your homework. You want to study up on the company that you're interviewing for. You want to know where you're going. You obviously want to get there on time, but you want to be early. And if you don't know where you're going, you can always be late. All right, you always want to be early, 15 to 20 minutes. Be prepared. Always bring extra copies of your resume. Dress for success. Just like Dr. Webb said, she looks around school and she sees people dressed nicely, and that leaves an impression upon her. Women, just some general outlines for dress code. Skirts, not too short. Blouse, blazer, no, big hair, no excessive jewelry, no excessive makeup. Guys, collared t-shirts, sport coats, ties. Suits aren't always necessary.
Mr. Huff.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Huff, what's your policy on wearing headbands to an interview?
Cameron, I think headbands are really trendy. I think Federer looks great in a headband. And so I think that would be a great thing to wear if you were probably going out to the tennis courts and playing around with your buddies. But for the sake of the interview, I think it's probably best if you leave the headband at home.
Fair enough.
I do like them. I'm a big fan of them.
Thank you.
So the beginning of the interview, this is an important step because this is kind of the first appearance that you meet with someone. You want to introduce yourself to the secretary. When you meet your interviewer, it's very important, guys, that we shake our hands firmly, we look them in the eyes, and we give them that confident feeling that, we're here, we deserve to be here, this job's ours. We want to be positive, always smile. A couple don'ts, guys, is never chew gum. We don't want to smoke. We don't want to, curse and slouch and have bad body posture. In the middle of the interview, obviously we want to have all the right answers, but more importantly, we want to stay positive, and we want to be prepared. So we want to know our resume. We want to speak to our resume. We want to be honest and forthright. We want to be thorough. We don't want to just talk. We want to understand what they're asking us. A couple of don'ts, guys, is we don't want to draw attention to negative attributes, poor attendance grades, things like that. We don't want to criticize people or discuss personal issues. Remember that we're highly motivated and we're trying to convince this person that we're the right person for the job, okay? And then the end of the interview, okay? So we want to ask job-related questions that we've prepared prior to going in. We want to be attentive. We don't want to jump and ask if we're going to get the job immediately, right? We want to take a little bit of time, but we do want to have some questions ready. We want to make sure the interviewer knows how best to contact us. So if they give us the job, we'll be able to accept it. Yes, Dr. Webb.
I'm just questioning, can I ask how much money I'm going to make?
That's a really important topic in regards to when you're going after a job. You know how much you're going to make. But common procedure is to discuss salary after they've made the job offer. So it's probably not a best question to ask when you're still interviewing. You want to make sure they offer you the job first, then you can iron out that detail.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Last step, guys, is the follow-up. We're going to do this in our interviews, in our mock interviews, here in just a little bit. But we want to be able to follow up with our interview. Okay, so what does that mean? We want to send our interviewer a thank you letter for the interview, and then we want to plan on talking to them maybe about a week down the road, or maybe 4 or 5 days. But we definitely want to follow up with our first impression, our interview. Okay, so as you guys wrote on the back of your action verb resume list, what I want you guys to do is typically we would go through, I want you to circle 20 of these, but for today's activity, I want you to circle just 2 or 3. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to do that. As you guys are looking at this action verb list, I want you to think about which words will help you in an interview process. Okay, so we talk about our words all the time. If you're talking about yourself and you're trying to tell your story, which one of these words do you like the most? So I'm going to walk around the room as you guys are doing this. I'm going to kind of monitor you, and I'm going to help you guys and try and guide you as much as I can. If you have a question, I would love for you guys to ask me a question. Would anybody care to share maybe 1 or 2 verbs that they really like or that really stands out to them?
I like adapted.
Sure. What was that, Patrick?
Adapted.
Adapted, right? It's a very strong word. Okay. Anyone else?
Motivated.
Motivated. Very, very good word. Anyone else?
I would say delegated and directed. Those are leadership skills.
Great verbs, especially if you're going for a management position, right? You
That's
got to be
right.
able to delegate.
Like
All right, guys. So as you guys wrote down the most important thing to you in an interview, and you've written down a couple of your favorite action verb lists, now we're going to kind of break out into pairs, okay? So normally I would have you guys pair up with a fellow partner and go through a mock interview, okay? But for today's purposes, I'm going to pick one of you, and we're just going to go through our mock interview, okay? So Dr. Webb, would you like to be my interviewer?
No, I already went. That's not fair. You should call on somebody else.
Well, you did such a great job last time. I feel like you're prepared for this, and you told me about how you have a job the other day, and so I just figured this would be great practice for you.
Okay, what do you want me to do?
All right. As you look at the slide, I'd like for you to pick one of those jobs. Web designer, retail branch manager, police officer, human resources director.
I want to be a flight attendant.
Flight attendant. Okay, good job. I'm going to ask you 15 questions, okay? And you're just going to answer them to the best of your abilities.
Okay, but we have a fire drill coming up in about a minute, so I think I probably won't be able to answer all of those.
Okay, that's fine. I'll tell you what. Let's narrow it down. Let's pick 3, and hopefully we can get through these 3, and we'll get you guys your homework assignment, and we'll get you on your way, okay? How's that sound?
Okay.
All right. So tell me about yourself.
I'm a hard worker, and I like in school getting really good grades. I find myself working with others a lot, and I enjoy that because I really like people. So I think if I was a flight attendant, I'd be great because I'd be able to work with people really well, and I'm not afraid to communicate.
Excellent. Those are great qualities. What's your biggest weakness?
My biggest weakness is that I tend to be late all the time. So sometimes when things are due, I'm late, or sometimes when I have to be somewhere at a certain time, I'm late. I know it's not a great thing, but if I got hired, I promise I'd be on time.
There you go. Well, that's something that you can control, and I appreciate Dr. Webb for stepping up and being active. All right, let's all give her a round of applause.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Remember, we have a fire drill in about a minute.
Yes, ma'am. You guys, all right, so let's go over our homework assignment for tonight. After you guys have paired up and you've gone through your mock interviews, you guys are going to take home a self-assessment form. Okay, this self-assessment form is going to be based off of the notes that you gathered off of your interview. Okay, so you guys paired up, asked each other the 15 questions, and then once you completed those 15 questions, you guys swapped roles and you kept notes on each other the entire time, okay? All right, so you guys are going to be taking home a self-assessment evaluation form tonight, and I will expect you guys to turn that in tomorrow morning. But in closure, I would also like to reiterate that we do have our final mock interviews coming up in 3 days, okay? And our mock interviews will be with myself and 2 business owners.